All right, we are recording for chapter, what is this, 19? No, 20 in Star Trek The Motion Picture. This is going to be another ranty one, I'm sorry, but it just, there's some stuff in here where, yeah, I'm going to have to rant. All right, so it does comment in here, Kirk intentionally left Decker behind on the bridge. He did not want to bring him with Kirk and Spock to the cabin that the intruder is in, because from the motion picture we know it is a replication of Ilea's body. But before going there, Kirk did see on the security panel it was Ilea's quarters. So he was like, "Yeah, Decker shouldn't come. This would be a problem." When getting there, it does say that it's still cooling off, 165, 160, 155, which I found a little annoying because, like, okay, apparently Roddenberry doesn't know that heating and cooling is nonlinear. Because when we first saw it, it's the ticks going off were 5 degrees, 5 degrees, 5 degrees. And by the way, something later on it mentions it coming down to 33 degrees and holding steady. I'm not certain, but I'm pretty sure 33 is human body temperature in Celsius, so this is Celsius. So 1,000 degrees Celsius down to that. But, yeah, no, it's non-linear. So it's one of those funny things that technically... Oh, crap. What is the actual... Well, I might have the specific values wrong, but basically it takes... A body will cool off faster going from, say, 50 degrees to 40 degrees than from, say, 40 to 45, something like that, where it's just... It is non-linear. It's logarithmic? Sounds right. Might be exponential, though. But in any case, it will cool off very quickly, and then once it gets near the ambient temperature, it slows down a lot. So the fact that it's linear, it's like, that's not actually how that works. Anyway, that's right. Yes, and that is in fact what I've highlighted here. Okay. Fascinating, said Spock. Kirk nodded, aware that the Vulcan referred to the fact that neither smoke nor flame alarms had been triggered in there. And since a flare of temperatures that high should have caused something to burn, the aliens who had taken Lieutenant Ilea from them must have sent over something unusual to her cabin. No, you just don't understand how physics works. I'm sorry, it is that hot. You have sensors that are detecting that temperature, which, by the way, why you're not just having alarms go off by high temperatures, I'm not sure. But regardless, it is radiating that temperature out. That's the only reason you're able to measure it. Which means then that everything around that is also receiving that heat. And so all it takes is one thing that doesn't like being heated up, being exposed to 1,000 degrees Celsius of heat, to be like, I'm going to start smoldering, and now the alarms are going off. It's like, that's not how this works. It is, in fact, burning things around it by its presence. Yeah, I mean... It might theoretically be possible to have a sensor detect the heat of something that isn't radiating that heat by, like, bouncing light off of it and seeing, because I'm assuming that there's enough heat coming off it to still cause, like, heat distortion in the air for it to pick that up, but you'd also have to know that something can even do that, and there's no way that you'd be able to predict that when designing a sensor. So no, it's... This isn't how it works. It's just, I got enough of a science background that's like, it annoys me. Oh, yeah, as I predicted from in the previous one, yeah, this Ilea replicant has no awareness of being nude. Which is actually, well, you know what? Yeah, I gotta call it out. This is nudity for no reason beyond having Ilea nude. There is no need for her to be naked here. None at all. Yep. Here's why. Because later on, a point is made, and this is also in the movie, but the point is made about how perfect a duplicate of Ilea's body this is. Here's the thing, though. V'ger didn't take Ilea's body. V'ger took Ilea in uniform. So, V'ger is trying to perfectly replicate this, which is also an issue later on. I'll get to that. But I'll share at least some of it here. I mean, maybe the whole point, I'll just tell you where it is later. V'ger has no frame of reference. So, V'ger is having to precisely reproduce everything about Ilea. Why would he think that, oh yeah, the clothing isn't part of her, that the clothing isn't an aspect of this creature such that it must also be included in this recreation? That's completely appropriate. I mean, fine, it technically isn't physically connected, it's just resting on the body, but still it came with the Ilea body, so it should be included. And I'm also just thinking, are there no species out there that do also... Well, yeah, you've got different crustaceans that go around with shells on them that I don't think are necessarily shells that they grow. I know that some, like a turtle, that shell is grown, and their spine is actually part of it. And snails, I believe, are the same, where they grow that shell, they don't just find it. But I think that there are some crustaceans that they don't grow it, they find a shell from another species and use it. I might be misremembering that. But still is... I can believe that there are examples of that in the natural world where there are things that are carried, where it isn't just part of it. So, well, even still, it is... Her tricorder was dropped and left on the Enterprise. Her clothing wasn't. So the only reference V'ger has is Ilea clothed. Ilea naked isn't necessary. It is not logical for V'ger to recreate. So Ilea is supposed to be clothed here. But instead, nah. It was Ilea. Lovely, almost unbearably lovely in her nudity. It gets worse. With how it describes... It's like... The way Kirk realizes that... Because in the sonic shower, which, by the way, it does sound like also uses water. It's weird, I don't know. But there's another feature of the sonic shower that's actually kind of neat. Don't believe it's ever mentioned or ever applied in any of the, like, television shows, but in any case. Hang on, sorry, I'm just hearing noises. That's just like somebody going around outside. But the way Kirk realizes that Ilea has turned to look at him is like, how to put it? Her breasts, which were at this moment swinging around to point directly at him. Then it's like, oh, wait, if they're pointing at me, so are her eyes. I should really look up. I also find it a little funny. Damn it, it had to be the Delta pheromones that were doing this to him. And it's like, or, Kirk, you just have a nude woman in front of you. I mean, a point is made a little later that, yes, the pheromone stuff has also been perfectly recreated here. But it still is like, Kirk, it's a nude woman. You are going to be a little distracted. I mean, come on. But it's maybe more distracted, but you're not making a point of that you're more distracted. You are distracted. So it's... But yeah. The next highlight that I have here... oh, and by the way, the eyes are without living warmth. So there is a... Kirk is like, did they reanimate her body? Because this ain't really living. Anyhow, this is where we then get the sonic shower has a special feature that's kind of neat. Kirk's direction of thought was bringing his attention back to her naked body as he stepped toward her in the sonic's cubicle, as in sonic shower. Her cold eyes followed his movements as he punched in her dress code, then slid the transparent door closed long enough for a leisure robe to form over her nakedness. So apparently, the sonic shower also dresses you. That's interesting. But I am also curious, why did he go with a leisure robe? I mean, I can understand maybe not the uniform, But because that would be weird, her going around in uniform when she's technically not Ilea. I will continue to refer to her as Ilea, but she technically isn't. So it's like, there is, impersonating an officer is a problem, but it still is like a leisure robe is what you go to. How about, I mean, because just going by what they put the actress in the movie, I think it would have been wiser to have a bit more covering there, Kirk. Okay, it's you've already got issues with the whole pheromone stuff. Why are you making it harder? Okay. Okay, she does eventually start talking. It's described as unpracticed and mechanical, but you are the Kirk unit, she said slowly, but this is important because the whole Kirk unit thing. Well, here, later on, this is also in the movie. When Decker finally encounters her, she does say, Decker? And Spock points out, not Decker unit. Yes, that's fine, but the problem is, I'm pretty sure in the movie they do this better. That Bones comes up, says it's mechanical. There's some more there. I think I got some more to talk about before that. But I think in the movie, Kirk does tell her to go with the McCoy unit. That, it's like they are using the unit where it's like, okay, we're accepting this is a pattern and we're applying it now. So Spock then just going, but in this, it's just Kirk unit, and then Spock going, she didn't say Decker unit. It's like, no pattern has been established here yet, even for your logical mind. So, yeah, no. Alright, get the circular logic of, who is V'ger? V'ger is that which seeks the creator. Who's the creator? That which created V'ger. And, yeah. But Kirk is hang on. I'm just trying to think. Is it better there or? Yeah, it had reacted with Deltan sensuality and sexuality by releasing pheromones. So this is Kirk being like, this must be Ilea, because why would that be duplicated? But I think it's a later one. Yeah. So it is more just Kirk is saying again, it's doing the pheromone stuff. That's what's doing it. It's not the whole naked body here. It's the pheromones. But I'll leave for a little later where it's like, well, no, this actually makes perfect sense. And Kirk is being kind of stupid in not realizing it. So I'll get to that though when we get to that spot in the story. But Kirk eventually asks, why is it traveling towards the third planet? It's V'ger travels to the third planet to find the creator. It stunned them. Whatever V'ger might be, some single great entity or an entire alien race, it is simply impossible that anything capable of that vessel's technology could believe that Earth was the location of anything that could be called creator. Why? No, I'm very serious here, because while humanity, it doesn't seem like could have created V'ger by their understanding of V'ger at the moment. Okay, I got that. But you already talked about early in the story that, hey, millions of years ago, there was a super advanced alien species that set up an outpost on the moon that decided, hey, there's life on this thing next to us, on this larger planet that we're on the moon of. We're going to go there and start doing medical experiments. This was millions of years ago. Why would you think, oh, this species, that V'ger isn't looking for that species that left? Perfectly reasonable. You already set this up, and I remember it being there, why would you do this? What point is this to Star Trek? What does this add to the story? It adds nothing to the story, so it shouldn't be in. So I don't believe it should have been in there. But seeing the line here though did remind me of Voyage Home, where the probe comes to find out, hey, what happened to all the humpback whales? Which, yeah, not that well disguised. Environmentalist propaganda, but still, kid, it works, and it's not that bad an example. There are far worse examples of such propaganda, but is that probe, I wonder, going to be connected to that species? I don't know, but that doesn't seem unreasonable, actually. And maybe that helps explain it, because the whole humpback whale thing is just stupid. I would say, why would you believe that some interstellar species would come seeking whales that have, it's even pointed out in the movie, don't exist on any other planet, at least not specifically humpbacks. But even if it is we visited this planet before, we found this species that we like their singing, eventually figured out how they communicate, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna leave and come back later. And it's like, why would you think they couldn't have just gone extinct anyway in the many thousands to millions of years you've been gone? Why would you think that they wouldn't change their language? That they wouldn't evolve into something you wouldn't... I mean, it is really a dumb concept. Yeah. But as I said, it's kind of thinly veiled environmental propaganda, but it actually makes me think of one other thing. There are people who talk about how, oh, we should try to resurrect the woolly mammoth because we have such DNA that we could potentially implant it in like an African elephant embryo, and then implant it and then get. I get why people think that'd be neat. It's stupid. I mean, legitimately, if you want to try resurrecting an extinct species, the dodo is far more reasonable, because that thing's only been not even been dead 200 years. I think. I don't think we're at that point yet. Which means that the environments that exist in basically still exist today, at least as far as climate. It'll survive in today's environment, but also the environments that it was in have likely already adapted without it being there, but might be able to swing back without too much of an issue. Woolly mammoth, Ice Age. We ain't in the Ice Age. It's not going to have a place here. People are just being stupid. But also, to be fair, the dodo was stupid, so I was like, legitimately, part of the reason it died, we hunted it to extinction. There's no doubt about that, but it was stupid. It literally like, hey, we're on a hunting party. We're going to hunt some dodos. Oh, how do you like that? A dodo just walked into the camp. Pow. And then another one would do it too. They were so stupid they couldn't realize that they were literally going to their extermination. It's like even cows, when being brought to the slaughterhouse, will escape. You'd think a cow is stupid, but no, a dodo's more stupid. And by the way, cows, they can jump. Okay? If you look it up, there actually have been cows that managed to jump like over 9-foot fences to get out. And at one point, where was this? It's a true story. There were cows that may have actually turned feral because they managed to escape and were away long enough that they were just like living in the woods. And it's like, I'm fascinated by this because cows seem to be so domesticated to me that there's no such thing as a wild cow. Well, maybe there is. But in any case, I love my meat. But in my opinion, if a cow manages to escape a slaughterhouse, put it out to stud or whatever, that thing won, okay? Yeah, its purpose was to die so that it could feed people, and hey, fulfillment of that purpose, that's fine, nothing wrong with that. But it's like, hey, it successfully escaped that. You know what? Let it live. That's my opinion. Okay, what the hell is next? Just a moment. Sorry. A little bit of a cold. Alright, is that the next thing? Okay. So they get to sickbay to have her body analyzed. Which initially I did have a little bit of an issue with the whole basically everything has been replicated but in mechanical form. So there's micro miniature hydraulic sensors, molecular sized multiprocessor chips, and so on. And it's like, initially I'm thinking, why would Vidra do that? Because you have a perfectly functional mechanism already in the biological body. Why change it all to be mechanical? Then it's like, oh wait, well that's right, Vidra is technically a bigot, is technically racist. I mean, yeah, Vidra being mechanical believes that that is a superior form of life, and so seeing something inferior with biology, but having to now interact with it, tries to replicate it, but replicates it into what V'ger knows, which is mechanical life. So, yeah, it's yeah. That I don't know if that's why Roddenberry wrote it this way, but it is no. There is an in-universe explanation for why she is mechanical, because that is what V'ger knows. And as I said, V'ger is basically racist. He does believe that his form is superior, which is also, to be fair, it's like the carbon units infesting the Enterprise doesn't understand that the Enterprise is not sentient, is not alive, and that the beings on it are alive and are what use the Enterprise as a tool. But we also get here, why did it need such minute perfection? What use would a probe have for, say, the sexual stimulating hormones? Kirk, you are an idiot. It doesn't know they're not important. That's all there is to it. That is all there is to it. Does not know that the ability to produce those pheromones isn't important. The only reference V'ger has is Ilea, and decided to recreate Ilea perfectly, which includes that. That's all there is to this. Okay? I mean, this is Kirk being stupid. If Ilea had one arm and one leg, okay, clearly some deviation from the normal Deltan form, which is a humanoid form with 2 arms, 2 legs, V'ger still would have recreated her with 1 arm and 1 leg, because that's the only reference it has. Okay, I mean, it's not like, although this would still see the pheromones being kept, it's not like, oh, I'm going to take the DNA, figure out how to decode the DNA, and then recreate a body based on the DNA. No, it's, hey, this is what I got, I'm going to make a copy in my version, boom. Well, in my preferred medium might be a better way to put it than my version, but yeah, I mean, this is obvious, Kirk. You really should be smarter than this. Or even Roddenberry, have Spock make the comment that recreated in minute perfection because that's all it knows. Then we get Decker enters, and that he has been told, and we do have the Decker, the probe's, yeah. Yeah, I guess technically that would be incorrect phonetically. Because it is Dec-ER. But it's like, because the K sound is also attached to the so it's Dec-er. Well, wait, now I'm just going to say Dec-er. But when I would actually just say it as one word, Decker, the K and sound go together. It's Ker, not At least that's how I say it, which might be wrong, but... So I'm just thinking it should be more DECK-KER to continue that sound, but I guess maybe it isn't incorrect. I don't know. It's just, as I said, how I would pronounce it or think about it phonetically when writing it out. I would have to include the sound there. But yeah, then we get the whole interesting Spock said to the probe, not Decker unit. Okay, so yeah, I already complained about how we've only heard it use Kirk unit twice. Technically, one was, "Are you a Kirk unit?" Like, what? You are Kirk unit? It's like I can't smush it together. It was basically the whole thing just smushed together. But then it's like, you are the Kirk unit, or you are Kirk unit, whatever. It's like, Spock doesn't have enough to realize that this is a pattern. And it's just not Decker unit. It's like, why is this surprising you? No reason to be surprised. I think in the movie it's handled better. And I am legitimately wondering with some of these chapters now if some of this is recreating the script from the movie. As in, like, part of this was written separate from the scripts, part of it was written with the script. Or even while filming, okay, the director making some changes because, like, yeah, we need the unit stuff set up. It's like, Bombay's like, oh, okay, Decker unit. It's just putting it in there instead of realizing, oh, wait, I need to actually set it up in the book as well. I'm not sure. There's the discussion about the whole Ilea well, this probe, this Ilea probe, having the memories of the original Ilea. So, fun thing, memories are technically stored mechanically in the human brain. At least we're going to assume it's the same for deltans. Yeah, it's weird, but it's technically true. Where the way memories are stored is through the physical connections through neurons, and the more connections there are, the more readily the information is recalled. But it's also those connections are not just like the one thing tied together. I mean, it's 6875309. Even my just saying that, I can hear it. I don't know if you can. The rhythm to it of the song is in there. Because the numbers also tied to the rhythm, tied to the song, and all those connections are also in the mechanical connections of those neurons. So if I were to just start hearing the beat without the vocals, I would still start thinking 6875309, and I screwed it up, which kind of defeats my point, but it still is. That is actually how memory works. So if you are to completely, perfectly reproduce all the mechanics of a body, technically memory would come along with it. Now, are you also recreating other aspects that allow that memory to be recalled correctly? That's harder to say, but yeah. But it still is, yeah, that is actually how memory works. Memory is not just some abstract concept that exists in the brain, and there's nothing identifiable in the brain that could recover it, for recovering it. It is technically there physically. Now, I'm willing to believe, I don't know if this is true, but I'm just going to say I'm willing to believe that if somebody say yes, but the specific nature of those connections varies from person to person based on environment, based on their own genetics. It's like, I'm good with that. Meaning, you couldn't somehow feed that information into somebody else's brain and have them understand it. Is what I mean there. That it cannot be translated. That is still unique to the person. I'm perfectly good with that. That's fine. That makes sense. All right. Just a couple things left. And this one, Roddenberry, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? So it's the whole Ilea wants to follow Kirk around. Kirk realizes, nope, it has to be Decker. Part of the reasoning to this, though, is what I got a problem. Because if we can control it, persuade it, use it, or get control of it in any way, it's like we have to try to do this. So this is why Decker, well, it has to be done. Kirk hesitated, struck with the thought that his own experience might be superior in this area too. Like, yeah, I mean, Kirk is a more experienced officer, so he's been captain for far longer than Decker has been, so yeah, I mean, importance of the ship and all that, my experience, that's going to be important. Just wait for it. Unlike Decker, he had no emotional attachment to the Delta Navigator. This is true. This may also help with trying to manipulate her. It's like you're not looking at your long-lost lover. You're looking at just your navigator. So it's like, somebody that Kirk would have to be able to order to her death if necessary. It's like that is part of command, is you may have somebody where the situation calls for, hey, look, you need to go do something. You're going to die, but you know what? It saves the ship. You need to do that. There's no reason to believe Decker would be comfortable doing that with her. Kirk, no, he could do it. No problem. And the mechanical replica of the Navigator's body would mean even less to him, to Kirk. So it's like, yeah, totally. But even as Kirk was telling himself this, he realized that the question here was not technique. What? It must be Decker for the simple reason that the real Ilea had loved this young man. Sexual technique always came out a poor runner-up in any race with love. Kirk's literally thinking about having sex with this thing. Okay? We have to do whatever is necessary. And if that means taking her to bed, gotta do it. And it's like, but Kirk is like, well, no, and he's even thinking, my sexual technique is probably better than his. But wait, they actually love each other. Damn, he wins. It's like, what the why? Why are you doing this? This is so unnecessary. I mean, it's purely enough that Decker is familiar with Ilea, and Ilea, Decker, like, even though this is a replicant, is a recreation of Ilea, the fact that, oh, there's a connection here, nothing else matters. It has to be Decker. Decker's the only one that will have any potential at all, to connect with Ilea in a way that will allow them to manipulate Ilea, or just otherwise achieve a better connection with V'ger. He's the only one. So it's like, you don't need this, but instead it's like, well, even though my sexual technique might be better, it's like, what the hell, man? Seriously, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Was this the 70s? Or was this Roddenberry? Shit like this, though, does make me feel a lot better about my rule that if it does not directly contribute to the story, it shouldn't be in there. Okay? We don't need... basically, none of the talk of sex in this story really contributes to the story in such a way that it's necessary. You can achieve it by other means, or you just don't need what you're talking about anyway. Like the whole year spent with what's-her-name that Kirk has already forgotten, despite her having died less than 24 hours ago. Well, actually, no, at this point would be more like less than 30 hours, but still. You don't need... You could just completely cut that out. He's already forgotten her. Final highlight. Right at the end. I am uneasy with this being our only hope of dealing with the intruders. For a second, the Vulcan's words hung in the air. Spock's jealous. At least that's how I'm interpreting that. He's jealous. Because he came on this mission because he has a connection with V'ger and feels there is something here, something important that I need to do. But now it's like, wait, V'ger's trying to connect with us, communicate with us via Ilea, not me. No. There's got to be more to this. Or at least this can't be the only way. There needs to be another way, and I need to be it. It's like, I came along on the mission for this reason. It's got to be that. Him being jealous doesn't bother me, to be honest. Any Vulcan being jealous, it doesn't bother me. As I've said before, I'm good with the idea that Vulcans, they have all these emotions. They're just typically in control of them, but they're all still there. In Spock, any of them can feel challenged by this, but Spock is particularly feeling challenged by it. It is also logical. He felt a connection. He came to try to discover this connection. It seems like, oh, it might not matter, but still it's like, well, it might not matter to V'ger, it matters to me, and it will still be benefit to the ship if I can figure this out. So logically, I still have to do this, but he is jealous. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how what follows is written of in the book, but man, it's also now I'm just stuck with the thought: are they actually going to have Decker have sex with this Ilea? I please, Roddenberry, don't. But I have no reason to doubt that will happen. I just don't want it to happen because it's unnecessary. This actually ended up being a short one. Well, shorter than the last one anyway, so see you next time.